Nobody on that quiet street expected anything unusual, but every night, just after dusk, a soft glow flickered from the old balcony next door, almost like a signal someone was too afraid to send properly. And every night, Leora Talbot pretended she didn't notice. She had moved into her apartment only a few weeks earlier, hoping for a fresh start. But something about the neighbor across the narrow walkway felt impossible to ignore. His name was Kalen Ward, a man with calm eyes and a presence that made the air shift whenever he stepped outside. Leora kept telling herself she wasn't looking for anything new, not after everything she'd been through. But Kalen, he carried an energy she couldn't quite explain, a quiet sorrow, as if he were waiting for the right moment to reveal something important. Still, they remained polite strangers, until the night a strange hum echoed between their buildings. It was soft at first, almost like a distant vibration. Leora paused at her window, wondering if the old heater had finally given up. But then the sound strengthened, pulsing with a rhythm too steady to be mechanical. It washed over her like a warm breeze, even though the air outside was cold enough to bite. Across the balcony, Kalen stepped into view. He wasn't holding anything, he wasn't touching anything, yet the faint glow she'd always noticed had intensified behind him, swirling like thin strands of silver air. His eyes shimmered with the same color for a brief moment, just long enough for her to catch it. Then everything went dark. The hum vanished. The glow disappeared. Kalen blinked, looking almost startled to see her staring. Their gazes locked through the quiet. Two neighbors suddenly connected by something neither could explain. He gave a nervous smile. "Sorry," he murmured, voice just loud enough to reach her. "Power's a little unpredictable tonight." Leora's heart thudded. That wasn't power, and he knew she knew. But he didn't elaborate, and she didn't ask. Over the next few days, their interactions grew slightly more frequent. Short conversations on the walkway, shared half-smiles near the mailboxes. She learned he enjoyed stargazing, that he worked strange hours, and that he always seemed cautious with his words, as if guarding a truth he wasn't ready to share. Then, one late evening, rain began to fall in sheets, rattling the rooftops. Leora stepped onto her balcony to pull in a potted plant before the wind toppled it. That's when she saw him again, standing outside, soaked, staring up at the storm as though listening to it speak. A flash of silver glinted near his hands. Not lightning, not reflection, something else. Before she could second-guess herself, she called out, "Kalen, are you all right?" He turned sharply. The silver light vanished instantly, like it had been swallowed by the night. He looked shaken. "Leora," he whispered, rain dripping from his hair, "I didn't want you to see that." Her breath caught. "See what?" He hesitated, eyes full of conflict, like a man standing at the edge of a truth too heavy to hold alone. His voice trembled. "There are things about me I never meant to drag you into." A sudden gust of wind pushed between them, scattering raindrops across the walkway. The storm intensified, rumbling like a warning. Leora took a careful step closer. "You can tell me, whatever it is." Kalen exhaled slowly, shoulders lowering with defeat. "That's the problem," he said softly. "If I tell you, everything changes." Her heart tightened at the fear in his voice, fear not of the storm, but of honesty. Before she could respond, another pulse of silver flickered above them, faint but unmistakable. Kalen winced, glancing skyward. The storm clouds churned strangely, almost as if reacting to him. "Please go inside," he urged, voice suddenly tense. "I don't want anything to happen to you." But Leora didn't move. She couldn't, not when she sensed something important was about to break open. And Kaylin could see it in her eyes. He swallowed hard, rain sliding down his jaw. "Leora, there's something you need to know about me." The words hovered between them, fragile and heavy. Something deep inside Leora braced itself, because whatever came next, she knew her life would never feel ordinary again. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Kaylin took a step forward, the storm responding with a low rumble that shook the balcony rail. His expression was filled with fear, longing, and a desperation she didn't yet understand. "Leora," he whispered, "the truth is, I'm not who you think I am." The storm held its breath. For a moment, everything around them felt suspended, like the night itself was waiting for Kaylin to finish what he had started. The rain softened, the wind steadied, and only the distant rumble of thunder lingered, echoing across the rooftops like a warning neither of them fully understood. Leora swallowed hard, her fingers tightening on the railing. "Not who I think you are?" she repeated gently. "Kaylin, what does that even mean?" He looked away, like meeting her eyes might break something fragile inside him. "I should have told you sooner," he murmured, "but I didn't know how, and I didn't want to scare you." "You're not scaring me." His expression said he didn't believe that. Another pulse of silver shimmered faintly near his hands, quick, soft, like a spark trying to stay hidden. Kaylin clenched his fists as if forcing the light down, jaw tightening. "Kaylin," Leora whispered, "I've seen enough to know something's going on. You don't have to hide it." The storm shifted overhead, clouds rolling in slow circles. Leora noticed it again, the strange way the sky seemed to follow his mood. It sent a chill down her spine, but not a fearful one, more like awe, curiosity, the sense of standing near something extraordinary, even if she didn't yet understand it. He stepped closer, rain dripping from the edge of his sleeve. "I'm different," he said quietly. "Different in ways I've spent years trying to control." Leora nodded slowly. "Show me." His breath caught. "You don't know what you're asking." "Maybe not," she admitted, "but you're clearly carrying something alone. You don't have to." For the first time, Kaylin's face softened. A flicker of gratitude passed through his eyes, along with a deep loneliness she hadn't noticed before. He lifted his hand. A soft, silver glow unfurled from his palm, delicate and weightless, like threads of illuminated air drifting upward. It wasn't harsh or dangerous. It was gentle, warm, almost soothing. The light danced between his fingers, responding to him like it was alive. Leora's breath trembled. "It's beautiful." Kaylin lowered his gaze. "It's dangerous." She shook her head. "Not from where I'm standing." The glow dimmed, fading back into his skin. The storm above them eased again, as though calming with him. He took a shaky breath. "I don't know where it came from. I don't know why I can do this, but ever since I was a child, this power has followed me. It grows when I'm upset. It reacts to my emotions. And if I lose control," his voice thinned, "people get hurt." Leora stepped closer, the rain now only a light mist around them. "Has anyone ever been hurt?" she asked softly. He hesitated. "Not badly, but close enough that I promised myself I'd keep my distance from people, that I'd stay quiet, invisible." She felt her heart twist at the sadness in those words. "So that's why you keep to yourself." and why I shouldn't be standing out here with you. But you are, she said gently. A faint, helpless smile touched his lips. I couldn't stay away. Another shift rippled through the storm, this time subtle, like the sky was sighing along with him. Leora took one tiny step forward, closing the last bit of space between them. Kaylin, you're not alone anymore. You told me the truth. Let me decide what to do with it. His eyes lifted to hers, full of uncertainty and hope tangled together. You're not afraid? She shook her head. Not of you. The quiet between them held something new, something tender and trembling, like the moment before a dawn neither had expected. But then the air changed. A sudden crack of thunder echoed far too close, sharp enough to rattle the windows around them. Kaylin stiffened, spinning toward the sky. The storm churned violently, darker and denser than before, as if something within it had awakened. Leora felt her chest tighten. What's happening? Kaylin's expression hardened with dread. I don't know, but it's reacting to me again, stronger than it should. The wind whipped across the balcony, tugging at their clothes. The silver light flared unpredictably along Kaylin's arms, bright and unrestrained. He stepped back, voice tense. Leora, get inside, now. She didn't move. Kaylin, wait! A surge of light burst from his hands before he could stop it, flashing outward and illuminating the storm in a blinding, beautiful arc. Leora gasped, shielding her eyes. And when the glow faded, Kaylin was trembling. Something's changing, he whispered. Something I can't control. The storm roared overhead, answering him. And Leora knew this was only the beginning. The storm gathered intensity, swirling like a living thing above the rooftops. Leora felt the wind tug at her sleeves, but she refused to step back. Something in her chest anchored her to that moment, even as every instinct warned her that Kaylin was losing control. He braced one hand against the balcony rail, breathing hard. Silver light rippled beneath his skin in uneven bursts, flickering up his neck and across his shoulders. Each pulse made the storm respond, thunder echoing, clouds rolling, rain shifting from soft mist to sharp needles and back again. Kaylin, Leora whispered, look at me. He didn't. His eyes were fixed on the sky, wide and panicked. I don't understand why it's this strong. It's never reacted like this, not even when I was younger. She stepped closer, gripping the railing beside him. Tell me what you're feeling. What's happening inside you? I can't. His voice trembled. I don't have the words for it. It's like the storm and I are a single thing, and I can't tell where I end or it begins. The wind surged with his fear. Leora swallowed against the pounding in her chest. Then let me help you steady it. You can't. He shook his head sharply. This power isn't gentle. It doesn't listen. It reacts. It reacts to you, she said softly, not to me. That means you have more control than you think. His gaze flicked to her, just for a heartbeat, and the storm paused, as if holding its breath again. Leora continued, her voice low and steady. You're not fighting this alone anymore. If you let the fear take over, the storm grows. But if you let me in... Another burst of light erupted along his arms, cutting her off with a sharp flash that lit the clouds above. Kaylin flinched, turning away. Leora, please, you don't understand. When I feel too much, the power breaks loose. And you being here, his voice cracked, you make me feel everything. Her heartbeat stumbled. She wasn't prepared for the rawness of his confession. But the tremor in his voice was real, aching, vulnerable, terrified. She reached out, gently placing a hand on his arm. The silver light beneath his skin reacted instantly, brightening, swirling, then settling into a softer glow. His breath hitched, eyes widening in shock. "What? How did you do that?" he whispered. "I didn't do anything," she said. "You calmed because you wanted to." The storm overhead softened again, the thunder rolling into a low, distant murmur. The clouds loosened, drifting back into their natural pattern. Even the wind eased into a gentle breeze. Kalen stared at her like he was seeing something impossible. "You stabilize it," he murmured, wonder mixing with disbelief. "No one's ever done that. No one's ever been able to." "Maybe you were never around anyone who saw you," Leora said. "Really saw you." His throat bobbed with a shaky swallow. "I've spent my entire life hiding this, afraid of what it might become, afraid of what it might make me." His voice softened. "But you don't step away. You move closer." She held his gaze. "Because I trust you." The glow beneath his skin faded completely, leaving only the faintest shimmer around his fingertips. The storm had nearly calmed, with only a few lingering drops of rain falling quietly between them. For a moment, everything felt still, peaceful, almost warm. Then Kalen's expression shifted, subtle but unmistakable. A shadow of confusion crossed his face, followed by a deep, troubled worry. "What is it?" she asked. They glanced at the dark horizon. The storm, it didn't fade on its own. It wasn't finished. A chill brushed along Leora's spine. "What do you mean?" Kalen stepped away from the railing, scanning the sky with a tense, focused gaze. "I could feel something inside it. A pressure, a presence I've never sensed before." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Almost like the storm wasn't reacting to me, but calling to me." Leora's stomach tightened. "Calling to you?" He nodded slowly. "That's why I lost control. Something was pulling at the power inside me, something I've never felt and don't understand." The last remaining raindrops fell in a slow, gentle rhythm, tapping softly against the metal railing. Leora stepped closer. "Kalen, what do you think it wants?" His jaw clenched. "I don't know," he said, "but whatever it is, it's stronger than anything I've ever faced." The wind shifted again, light but strange, almost like a whisper running through the night air. Kalen stiffened. Leora felt it too, faint as a sigh. Something out there was waiting. Something that had noticed Kalen long before Leora had ever stepped onto that balcony. And now, it seemed to be coming. The night settled into an eerie calm, the kind that made even the quiet hum of the streetlights feel too loud. Leora stood beside Kalen, watching the sky as if it might shift again at any second. The storm had broken apart, but the air still carried a strange weight, like a question waiting for an answer. Kalen rubbed his palms together, staring into the distance with a troubled intensity. Leora touched his elbow gently. "Tell me what you're sensing now." He shook his head. "It's faint, but it's still there, like a pressure on the edge of my mind. Not painful, but impossible to ignore." "Does it feel dangerous?" He took a long, uneasy breath. "It feels familiar. That's what scares me." Leora frowned. "You've felt it before?" "Only once," he admitted. "Years ago, when I was too young to understand it. The way he said it, soft, haunted, made her chest tighten. What happened back then? Kalen hesitated, bracing his hands on the railing as if grounding himself. I was about 10 years old. I'd barely discovered I could control the light. I didn't know how to calm it yet. And one night, a storm swept through my hometown, worse than anything I'd ever seen. He paused, jaw tightening. I felt something in it. Not just thunder or electricity, something pulling at me, calling to me, the same way it did tonight. Leora listened closely, her breath shallow. What did you do? I panicked, Kalen confessed. I lost control. The power surged in every direction, and the people around me, my family, they got scared. Not of the storm, of me. The sorrow behind his eyes ran deep, old and unhealed. Leora whispered, "That wasn't your fault." "Maybe not," he murmured. "But that night taught me that something inside me connects to storms in a way I don't understand, and each time it happens, it grows stronger." He turned his gaze skyward again. And tonight, it felt closer than ever. Leora stepped beside him, letting her shoulder brush his. "Whatever this is, you're not facing it alone." A soft warmth filled his expression, but the worry didn't fade. "I don't want you caught in the middle of this," he said. "I don't know what I'm becoming, or what's trying to reach me." "Well," she answered gently, "maybe we figure it out together." Before he could respond, the breeze shifted again, subtle but unmistakable. Kalen's head snapped toward the far end of the street. "Did you feel that?" he whispered. Leora nodded slowly. "It felt like movement?" "More like presence," Kalen corrected softly. "Something just crossed through the air." A faint silver shimmer drifted over the distant rooftops. It was small, barely more than a flicker, but too deliberate to be a reflection. Leora's heart thudded. That wasn't lightning. "No," Kalen murmured, "it wasn't." The shimmer vanished abruptly, leaving only still shadows and quiet pavement. Leora swallowed. "Do you think it's connected to your power?" Kalen didn't answer right away. His eyes searched the darkness with a focus she'd never seen in him before, fear mixed with recognition. "Finally," he whispered. "Yes, and I think it's been watching me for a long time." A soft chill slipped through Leora's spine. "How long?" "Since before I moved here," he admitted. "I've felt this presence from city to city, always far, always faint. But tonight, it's closer than it has ever been." His voice dropped even lower. "It followed me." Leora took a steadying breath. "What do you think it wants from you?" He looked at her with a fragile honesty that made her heart ache. "I don't know if it wants to help me or destroy me." The wind brushed past them again, cooler, sharper, as though reacting to his fear. Leora stood her ground. "Whatever it is, we face it together. You told me the truth, Kalen. I'm not going anywhere." His throat tightened, emotion flickering in his eyes. "You should be afraid." "I'm not," she said. "Not of you, and not of what's coming." He stared at her with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude, the silver glow faintly returning at the edges of his fingertips. But then, a sudden, distant crack echoed through the air. Not thunder. Not anything natural. It was sharper, clearer, like something tearing open. Kalen spun toward the sound, body going rigid. "That's it," he whispered. "It's here." Leora felt her breath freeze in her chest. The dark horizon pulsed with a faint silver line, thin, trembling, and stretching wider by the second. Whatever had followed him was finally stepping into their world. And the night was no longer calm. The silver line on the horizon widened, stretching like a thin tear across the night sky. Leora felt her pulse hammer as a soft hum rolled through the air, gentle at first, then steadily growing, the same tone she remembered from Kalen's earlier bursts of light. Only this time, it wasn't coming from him. Kalen took an instinctive step forward, shielding her with one arm. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "Kalen? Please." His voice carried a trembling urgency, and Leora obeyed, though her heart insisted on standing as close as he would allow. The blowing line brightened, trembling with purpose, until a single shape stepped through it, slow, graceful, and surrounded by the same silver shimmer that lived beneath Kalen's skin. It was a woman. She looked only a little older than Kalen, though her age felt impossible to measure. Her hair floated around her as if suspended in gentle water, strands glowing softly. Her eyes, luminous and silver-hued, swept across the neighborhood before settling on Kalen with unmistakable recognition. Kalen stiffened. "No," he whispered. "It can't be." "Hello, Kalen." Leora felt the world tilt slightly. "You know her?" He swallowed hard. "I thought she was a dream." The woman stepped closer, never quite touching the ground. The silver around her pulsed in calm rhythm, unlike Kalen's frantic bursts. "Not a dream," she said gently. "Never a dream. I've been searching for you for a very long time." The hum in the air softened, settling like a comforting presence around them. Leora, still behind Kalen, spoke carefully. "Who are you?" "My name is Saris, and I am like Kalen, though older, more practiced." Kalen's breath caught? "You're the presence I've felt all these years?" "Yes," Saris said softly. "I kept my distance until tonight, when your power surged too high to ignore. I feared you were in danger." He looked away, ashamed. "I lost control." Saris stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. "You are not losing control. You are evolving. The power within you is reaching its next phase. That is why the storm responded so fiercely tonight." Leora felt a quiet awe wash through her. "So, this wasn't an attack?" Saris shook her head. "No, this was Kalen's awakening, and I came because he should not face it alone." Kalen stared at her with a mixture of relief and fear. "But what does this mean? What am I? Why can I do these things?" Saris smiled, a warm, knowing curve. "You are one of us, a guardian of light, a rare soul connected to the balance between sky and earth. There are not many of us, and fewer still who are born with such strong resonance." She looked at him with pride that made his breath tremble. "You are powerful, Kalen, more than you realize, and that power needs guidance, not hiding." Leora stepped beside him, her voice quiet. "He's not alone anymore." Saris's gaze softened further as she looked between them. "I can see that." The night grew still again. The last remnants of the storm faded completely, leaving behind a peaceful, star-studded sky. Kalen turned to Leora, eyes shining not with fear now, but with something deeper: trust, gratitude, and a fragile tenderness he had held back for far too long. "I never wanted you caught in the middle of this," he said quietly, "but I'm grateful you stayed." "I always will," she answered. Saris rested her hand lightly on Kaylin's shoulder. There is much I can teach you about your power, about your purpose, about who you are. Kaylin exhaled, a mix of relief and hesitation. And will I have to leave? Cirrus paused. That choice is yours, she said gently. You can learn from me while staying rooted in this place. You don't have to walk away from your life or from the people you care for. His eyes flicked back to Leora, and something warm cradled itself in the space between them. Leora felt her heart swell. So he can stay? Cirrus nodded. He can stay as long as he chooses. His journey doesn't need to take him far, only deeper. Kaylin let out a breath he had clearly been holding for years. Then he reached for Leora's hand, carefully, reverently, and she took it without hesitation. A soft glow spread through his palm, not wild or frantic this time, but steady, gentle, beautiful. Leora squeezed his hand. You're not something to fear, Kaylin. You're something extraordinary. Only because I'm not alone anymore. Above them, the stars brightened, reflecting the soft silver light now pulsing calmly through Kaylin's fingertips. For the first time, the night held no threat, only hope, only beginning. Saris stepped back toward the silver tear in the sky. I will return soon, she said. There is much to guide you toward. But for now, rest, breathe, and trust the bond that steadies your light. The tear folded closed behind her, leaving Kaylin and Leora standing beneath the quiet sky. Kaylin turned to her, voice soft. Thank you for seeing me, for staying when the world felt too heavy. Leora smiled, brushing a thumb across his knuckles. You don't have to hide anymore. And as they stood together under the peaceful night, the faint silver glow around them felt less like a secret and more like a promise of everything still to come.